In the wake of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, some Democrats are calling for immediate action. But there's disagreement within the party about how aggressively they should respond. With us for more, former Florida Republican Congressman Carlos Curbelo, who was a member of the Republican Conference for 2 years during the Trump presidency, and Democratic strategist Xochitl Hinojosa. She's the managing director of Bully Pulpit Interactive and the former communications director and senior advisor for the DNC. Xochitl, after the Roe announcement, you had some polling showing Democrats with a 7-point edge in the midterms. That same poll found that Democrats were more animated by this issue than Republicans. So then explain to me, why the hesitation from some in the party to really go after this issue?
Well, I think that the polling is right, Alicia. I think that what will happen is that this will motivate our base. I think that whenever Democrats or any party is in power, what ends up happening is that there ends up being low enthusiasm. You have to spend money in order to get those voters out. You have to prove to them that you have delivered in the last 2 years or when you've been in power. So in this instance, what is happening is that this will definitely help our voters. What I will say about the Democratic Party in this administration is that while President Biden has said that he is not for expanding the court, he's doing everything possible to ensure that we are protecting a woman's right to choose and on reproductive rights. And I think that he has taken aggressive action. He gave a speech. You saw the vice president out there recently, and they will continue to be out there. Number one thing that Democrats could do ahead of the midterms, though, is really talk about how elections matter. And what happened in the Supreme Court last week is exactly a result of the 2016 election. And that's, they need to make a clear message ahead of the midterm saying, if you don't turn out, it could get worse. We need to continue to put Democrats in power to ensure that this doesn't happen and so we can restore Roe.
Carlos, let's talk about the backdrop of this midterms. You have 61% of Americans have either little or no confidence in this Supreme Court. What does that mean, Carlos, for our democracy?
It's a big problem, Alicia. The court in the past had more credibility, more respect, more trust than the political branches of government. And now this court that makes big decisions for the entire country is starting to feel like another partisan entity. So that is a big deal. I mean, it motivates people on both sides. So you will see some conservatives turning out to maybe reward Republicans for shaping the court. But I do give Democrats an edge when it comes to just a motivation and an urgency to vote, because obviously they're on the losing side. And that's typically what happens. The party whose policies lose tends to get energized. I will say, more broadly speaking, Democrats also have to worry about centrist and independent voters, especially in suburban America. And that's where they should highlight the bipartisan wins that Joe Biden has been able to sign into law, namely the bipartisan infrastructure bill and, of course, the recently passed gun reform bill, which is historic in nature for many reasons.
I mean, Xochitl, here's the thing. I go back to that sound from Representative Ocasio-Cortez where she says Democrats there has to be a fight, right? They have to have something that they are fighting for, and they have to be able to go into midterms saying to their voters, we delivered something, right? And beyond just policy wins, we understood that these rights were under attack, and here are the steps we took to get it. And it can't be amorphous, right? This just go vote message sort of begins to feel generic. I think it's part of why you had Senator Warren coming out and saying, give us 2 U.S. Senate seats and we'll be able to deliver for you, right? It makes it much more specific. What do you think it is that this administration can actually do and can actually deliver around choice between now and midterms?
Well, I think that you had Secretary Becerra out there, and I think you've had administration officials who've talked about the tools that they're going to use in the administration. I think that the president needs to ensure that he continues to talk about this issue. Yes, he gave one speech, but he does need to go out in the community and talk about and really listen to people about how Roe is impacting their day-to-day lives, what they can do. You heard Secretary Becerra talk about medication and abortion before, and making sure that is available to people. And you've also heard the Justice Department say that they're going to take aggressive action. But I do think that President Biden does need to be out there a bit more when it comes to this issue, and it can't be forgotten. I will say, Alicia, and I think that's one thing that people tend to forget, is that the Supreme Court is not done here. We have a number of different cases that are going to come out shortly. We know that DACA is sort of in the courts right now. We don't know what the future of DACA is going to be. So looking forward, not just Roe, there are a number of issues that are going to impact our values and democratic values and the reason why they put us in office. And this administration and Democrats need to be clear. Listen, this could get worse. The Supreme Court could potentially take away DACA. Other things could happen. There are other consequences if you don't vote for Democrats.
Carlos, I only have about a minute left, but there was some incredible sound from Liz Cheney tonight saying we have to choose because Republicans cannot both be loyal to Donald Trump and loyal to the Constitution. I wonder if you think that's the choice that's before Republicans today.
Well, that's certainly right, Alicia. And Liz Cheney has really become the conscience of the Republican Party, holding all Republicans accountable, putting the truth out there and having them face it and say, are you going to accept this, or are you going to turn to the truth and reject Donald Trump's lies? So her voice is so critical in this moment. She has a big primary coming up in a few weeks. We'll see what happens there. But regardless of what happens in her primary, Liz Cheney has delivered a great gift to this country, the truth from a Republican, from a bona fide conservative, and she is really holding all of her colleagues accountable. Many are failing the test.